a few individuals that don't react the usual way to any kind of propaganda, so let's hope that you are one of those. The problem is, with science, is it's our imprisoner for the big organisations of the world. It's the warden of the prison they are creating, and the experts are the wardens as well. Science is supposed to be our saviour, and we're going to elevate the scientists to an even higher level, a higher level of holiness than it already has. And all we'll eventually see is guards with badges that say expert. That's all they'll have to say, expert, and we'll parrot whatever they say. And what better way to imprison people is with a prison without bars and a freedom that doesn't really exist. Here are a couple of examples of experts lying to us through news articles. This is from the Observer, January the 20th, 2008. Only science can save us from climate catastrophe. With an increasing population, the earnest debate over the merit of biofuels and wind farms misses the point. It is the technologies we fear that will be our salvation. If there was ever an example of mankind being unable to bear too much reality, it is the current debate on climate change. Do you hear what the article says? It says debate, but I don't see any debate on climate change. I just see orders coming down from the top, because anyone who says different is tossed aside. It also says an increasing population, which isn't true either, because the West has been declining in its population for years. They don't have the big families they're used to anymore. I'll carry on with the article. No reasonable person any longer doubts that the world is heating up, or that this change has been triggered by human activity. Aside from a dwindling band, remember what the article says here, a dwindling band that rejects the clear findings of science, everyone accepts that we face an unprecedented challenge. At the same time, there is a pervasive belief that this is a crisis that can be solved by feel-good gestures such as eating organic foods and refusing to fly, or installing a wind turbine on a roof. When it comes to deciding what should be done, most people, including the majority of environmentalists, shrink from their discomfort that goes with realistic thinking. I won't read no more of the article. Just think about what the article just said. The article says you are not responsible if you doubt global warming. And why it says it is because it's a propaganda piece. Because you see, that is how propaganda is worked and generated. They know that the massive herd follows the majority. That's why they use polls, and polls are generally fake to make you want to join the winning group. It's a propaganda piece put out in the typical fashion with all its presumptions to make you go along with it, and that's how we're given propaganda. It's quite simple. The more you hear it, the more people will generally parrot it. Just remember what Bertrand Russell said. He said, just repetition, repetition. Go back to Lenin and what he said. We shall win by the use of slogans. As people start parroting these slogans, and as Bertrand Russell said, because everyone else is parroting a slogan. But remember, they used to all parrot the earth was flat at one time in unison. Even the BBC has been caught red-handed editing a news story about global warming. I have put this up on the Edge News radio site in the past. They changed the headlines in order to appease an email sent by an environmental activist, and it has also emerged that BBC writers are aware of the growing suspicions about apparent attempts to censor skeptics of man-made global warming. A report concerning the fact that global warming stopped in 1998 by the BBC's environment analyst Roger Harrobin was altered to omit the fact that such evidence is cited by skeptics as a reason to doubt the link between CO2 emissions and temperature increase. And the headline was also changed. The activist who emailed Harrobin, Joe Bass, also urged the BBC to censor skeptics of man-made global warming and not make reference to them, an order that has been followed despite Harrobin revealing that BBC newsroom writers were aware that sidelining the sceptical side of the debate was making people suspicious. Is it the BBC's remit as a so-called independent and neutral news organisation to amend entire articles and headlines in order to make environmental lobbyists happier? Think about it. So, the big media companies are in on trying to alter your reality. Just ask yourself, why would they want to do this, if not for a bigger reason? And everyone should find out that reason for themselves. Bertrand Russell also said, the state now gives the values to the children, and the parents have nothing really to pass on because they've been degenerated by television and magazines and the culture they've given us for the past 50 years. Well, it's because your loving good governments would not lie to you. They're employed by you. But all I can say is keep telling yourself that. Here is another article from the ABC News. Global warming denier, fraud or realist, is the headline ABC News uses to attack Princeton-trained physicist Fred Singer, who holds a degree in electrical engineering from Ohio State University and a PhD in physics from Princeton University. He dares to challenge the mainstream scientific consensus on the causes of climate change, but that did not stop ABC from ignoring any scientific points Singer made in favour of simply attacking his credibility. ABC News attempts to demonise Singer and by proxy any other scientist who questions broad scientific understanding that climate change is being vastly speeded up by man-made emissions. The network quoted an environmental activist from Greenpeace who says Singer is connected to a whole web of organisations, many funded by oil and coal companies. But energy companies stand to gain from inflated prices caused by the fear of global warming, and their representatives have been actively pushing the man-made global warming mantra. Some of these news reports just get